Aluminum. A metal so common yet so often overlooked, it quietly forms the backbone of our modern world. It's in the phone you hold every day, the car you drive to work, and the plane that soars above, connecting continents and people. For decades, this lightweight, durable, and infinitely recyclable material has been the quiet workhorse of modern life. From soda cans to skyscrapers, aluminum is everywhere, silently supporting our daily routines. Its story is not just one of mining and manufacturing, it's a story of relentless innovation, global economics, and the ever-changing demands of society. The development of the Hall-Héroult process in the 1880s unlocked its potential, making it affordable for mass production. Before this breakthrough, aluminum was more precious than gold, reserved for the elite. Industries quickly realized its advantages. Its unique combination of strength, flexibility, and resistance to corrosion made it indispensable. The aerospace sector embraced it for its remarkable strength-to-weight ratio, enabling commercial flight and revolutionizing travel as we know it. The automotive industry uses it to make cars lighter and more fuel-efficient, helping to reduce emissions and shape the future of transportation. In construction, it provides durable, flexible materials for buildings, shaping the skylines of our cities and allowing architects to dream bigger. But the story of aluminum is not just about its physical properties or its uses in industry, it's about how this metal has become woven into the fabric of our lives. It is deeply intertwined with global trade and politics, influencing economies and forging international relationships. Today, the landscape looks very different from the early days of aluminum. New technologies, shifting markets, and environmental concerns are reshaping the industry. The journey of Canadian aluminum offers a powerful lesson in how quickly the old rules of trade can be rewritten, reminding us that even the most familiar materials can have surprising stories to tell. The change began abruptly, catching many by surprise. One day the hum of industry filled the air. The next it was replaced by an uneasy silence as operations ground to a halt. Citing national security concerns, the U.S. imposed tariffs on aluminum imports, including those from Canada. The decision was swift, and its impact was felt immediately at border crossings and in boardrooms alike. This move disrupted the integrated North American market, which had long relied on seamless trade and cooperation between the two countries. Suddenly the flow of goods was interrupted and uncertainty took hold. Canadian smelters, particularly in Quebec, had been reliable suppliers to American manufacturers for decades. Their aluminum was essential for everything from cars to airplanes, forming the backbone of countless industries. The tariffs were like a sudden wall, disrupting a system built on cooperation and trust. What once seemed like an unbreakable partnership now faced new barriers, both literal and figurative. American companies faced higher costs, impacting consumers as prices for everyday goods began to rise. Manufacturers scrambled to find alternatives, but the supply chain was already strained. In Canada, the aluminum industry faced an existential threat. Plants slowed production, and workers feared for their jobs as orders from the U.S. dwindled. The Canadian government called the tariffs unjust, arguing Canadian aluminum was integral to the shared North American defense base. Officials pressed for dialogue, hoping to restore the trust that had been built over generations. Canada retaliated with its own tariffs on American goods, targeting products from states that relied on exports to Canada. The trade dispute quickly escalated, affecting more industries on both sides. This tit-for-tat created a tense atmosphere, straining a strong relationship that had weathered many storms in the past. Diplomats and business leaders alike worried about the long-term consequences. For workers on both sides, the uncertainty was the hardest part. Jobs, livelihoods, and entire communities hung in the balance, waiting for a resolution that seemed out of reach. In Quebec, families worried about layoffs, wondering how they would pay their bills if the situation didn't improve. The sense of community was strong, but so was the anxiety. In the Midwest, factory owners struggled with rising costs and shrinking profit margins. Some considered layoffs, while others looked for ways to adapt to the new reality. The tariffs created a ripple effect, touching logistics companies and local businesses. Trucking firms, warehouse operators, and small retailers all felt the slowdown as trade volumes dropped. The once predictable flow of goods across the border was thrown into chaos, leaving everyone from factory workers to business owners to wonder what the future would hold for U.S.-Canadian trade. When faced with a hostile U.S. market and mounting trade barriers, Quebec's aluminum industry found itself at a crossroads. Instead of retreating, the industry made a bold decision to adapt and innovate, seeking new ways to survive and thrive in a rapidly changing global landscape. Quebec's smelters had a unique advantage, They were powered almost entirely by clean, renewable hydroelectric energy. This abundant resource, harnessed from the province's vast rivers, provided a steady and sustainable source of electricity for aluminum production. As a result, Quebec's aluminum boasted one of the lowest carbon footprints in the world. Compared to competitors relying on coal or natural gas, Quebec's process produced far fewer greenhouse gas emissions, making their metal exceptionally clean. Suddenly, this environmental credential became more than just a technical detail. It was a powerful selling point that set Quebec apart in a crowded market. The industry seized the moment, launching a rebranding campaign to position its product as green aluminum, a material for the future, aligned with global sustainability goals. Quebec's producers began to market their metal not just on quality or price, but on its outstanding environmental performance, appealing to customers who cared about climate impact. Europe, with its ambitious climate goals and strict regulations, quickly emerged as the obvious target market for this new green aluminum. European automakers, under pressure to decarbonize their supply chains and meet emissions targets, were eager for cleaner materials. To meet these demands, Quebec's producers worked diligently to certify their production processes, ensuring transparency and credibility. With new traceability systems, companies could now track and verify exactly how much CO2 was saved with every shipment, giving buyers confidence in their environmental claims. The strategy paid off. European buyers, impressed by the green credentials and transparency, were quick to form new partnerships with Quebec's producers. The green certification label became a powerful market differentiator, signaling quality and responsibility to customers worldwide. This allowed Quebec's producers to command a premium price for their aluminum, turning environmental responsibility into real economic value. The Quebec pivot proved that embracing sustainability could be more than just good ethics. It could be a true competitive advantage in the global marketplace. In the end, Quebec's aluminum industry showed the world how a crisis could be transformed into an opportunity, forging a green revolution powered by water and vision. The Quebec pivot was part of a larger strategic shift. The US tariffs were a wake-up call. Canada realized trade diversification was an urgent national imperative. The country needed new partners and markets for long-term resilience. The federal government strengthened trade agreements with other economic blocs. CETA with the EU became a top priority. Canadian trade missions expanded across Europe and Asia. Industry leaders worked with the government to promote Canadian aluminum. They highlighted the green credentials and reliability of Canada as a partner. The message was simple: Canada is open for business. This wasn't just about finding new customers for aluminum. It was a fundamental rethinking of Canada's place in the world. The strategic pivot led to new trade routes across the Atlantic. Ports like Montreal and Halifax saw increased traffic. A new supply chain was built on shared values of sustainability. This aluminum bridge fostered deeper connections between industries. European car manufacturers integrated Canadian aluminum into their planning. Joint research projects explored new alloys and applications. This collaboration became a deeply integrated industrial ecosystem. The Canada-EU relationship was stress-tested and proven. The aluminum trade became a flagship example of CETA's benefits. It demonstrated that two economies could build a relationship on high standards. This success emboldened further cooperation in other areas. The aluminum bridge paved the way for a broader transatlantic alliance. This was globalization in action, focused on finding the best and most sustainable partner. Every economic shift creates winners and losers. The Canadian aluminum industry emerged stronger and more resilient. It diversified its customer base and became a leader in green aluminum. Quebec leveraged its hydroelectric advantage into a powerful brand. The Canadian economy reduced its reliance on a single trading partner. Europe gained access to a stable supply of low-carbon aluminum. Companies like Volkswagen met sustainability targets more easily. The US manufacturing sector was a primary loser. Tariffs harmed downstream industries that consume aluminum. American companies faced higher prices, reducing competitiveness. The tariffs frayed trust between the US and Canada. Integrated supply chains were disrupted, adding costs and friction. Protectionist measures can have far-reaching negative consequences. Quebec's aluminum pivot marks a watershed moment in trade. Environmental standards moved to the center of economic decision-making. A low-carbon footprint became as valuable as the product itself. The green label became a passport to new markets. Governments are implementing ambitious climate policies. Consumers are becoming more environmentally conscious. ESG performance is now a key factor for investors and customers. Green trade is a new paradigm valuing environmental attributes. New standards provide transparency for carbon content. Trade is transforming from cost-focused to sustainability-focused. This has profound implications for global supply chains. The new model incentivizes production in places with clean energy. The Quebec aluminum story signals the future of global trade. Beyond economics, this story reveals a shift in international relations. The Canada-EU partnership is a prime example of alliances based on shared values. It was an alliance between partners committed to democracy and climate action. Faced with US tariffs, Canada and the EU defended a rules-based system. We are seeing a global realignment into blocs defined by core principles. Democratic nations are building resilient supply chains. They are creating a network of liberty, reinforcing democratic norms. New criteria for trading partners include democracy and environmental regulations. The goal is to build secure and morally sound supply chains. This doesn't mean the world is splitting into separate camps. Strategic sectors will see integrated supply chains among democratic nations. The transatlantic aluminum bridge is a blueprint for cooperation. Shared values can become the foundation for strong economic alliances. The story of aluminum teaches us about the future of globalization. The old model focused on economic efficiency is over. A new chapter shaped by geopolitics and climate action has begun. Protectionism can be a catalyst for innovation and realignment. Canada built new partnerships based on a modern value proposition. Sustainability is a powerful competitive advantage. Quebec leveraged its environmental strength for success. Clean energy grids and transparency are critical economic assets. Investing in the green transition is a key economic strategy. The source of products will matter more than ever. Jobs will focus on clean and sustainable manufacturing. The aluminum saga offers a hopeful vision for international cooperation. Adaptation and shared values can forge a stronger, greener world.